Well, I think one of the reasons, and I just have to backtrack, when I first heard about the trauma education, trauma-informed education, I sort of thought, well, child abuse victims or victims of violent crime. And it wasn't until I gone to that very first training that we had, and they had the video about the law enforcement officer who had been shot and how long it had taken her to get over that. And then we started talking about people who've been in car accidents and things like that. It really opened my eyes to think in my job, it is a very narrow view of usually people who have been traumatized in a criminal situation. All of a sudden it dawned on me that really trauma was a lot more than that and a lot more than I had thought about. I think one of the bad things about being a judge or being a lawyer, we get kind of hardened to things and we don't think about somebody else being traumatized because unfortunately it's kind of become old hat to us. We've heard it so many times. So I guess becoming trauma informed made me look more broadly at an individual, more than just who they were, but really about what circumstance got them here, what that circumstance did to them in order to get them here, and then how did we as a system play into that to either help or make worse. So I think that was one of the benefits that I had from that. I think the way that I look at him differently is that I look at him more as a whole person. Um, Anybody who really comes to court, for those of us who don't do it on a daily basis, anybody who comes to court has already been traumatized in the sense that they've already had a traumatic incident in their life, whether they're getting a divorce, which is a terribly traumatic incident, whether they've been victim of an accident, whether they're a victim of a crime. I think just coming into a courthouse for a lot of people is a traumatic event. And so it has made me look at, by the time a person gets to my courtroom, they're already in a state of not normalcy for them. It's a strange situation. There's somebody with a black robe sitting up here. They've got bailiffs. We've got people with guns. So it's made me look at they're already in sort of a fragile situation even before I get their cases called and they come before me. So I think what it's made me do is look at a person, as I said before, like they bring a whole lot into my courtroom that I have no idea what it is. And the situation that they're in may well make them more explosive, more everything, which I call, because I have to keep order, not being polite or not being normal or not being courtroom decorum. But they're starting at a very different place than I am, because I've been doing this for 20 plus years as a lawyer and as a judge now for about 35 years. So it really makes me aware again that they've got a whole lot of garbage coming into the courthouse that I just don't even think, that I did not think about. And I do think about that now. I try to make people more aware that, if people are in a state of agitation, yelling at them, being physical with them, that is simply going to make the situation worse. If I see somebody that I can tell by the look in their eye, this is not going to be good, I really try to lower my voice. I try to get a lot calmer and not lose my temper. Because if I lose my temper, it's just going to make everything worse. The one thing about being a judge has been really kind of funny for me to learn. The judge does set the tenor for the whole courtroom. And I have to be very careful of what I ask people to do because they will do it. And that kind of surprised me. Like I had just become a judge and I asked someone to get me a Coke. Well, the next thing I knew, I had 4 Cokes on my bench, and I thought, oh my, this is power here. I can get a lot of Cokes. But you do have to be careful because you're sitting in a position of power that if you don't set the tone, they're going to follow you. And if you're angry, if you're upset, everybody gets angry. If mama's not happy, then nobody's happy. It's that sort of thing. So I really do think, and I do think the trauma-informed training has helped me a great deal on this, of looking at the person and thinking there's something else going on with this person that I have no idea what it's about. I may never know what it's about, but right now I need to be calm, I need to be patient, and I need to let them talk. Sometimes when I just let them talk, I'll just say something like, I'm sorry you feel that way. Can you tell me why, or what is something that's more appropriate than that? And lots of time, by the time they get through talking, they won't be mad or angry, and I have a better feel of who they are. So, I think that that's a real gift that this training has given me. It makes me a better judge, and quite frankly, I think it makes you a better person.